We are here to share United Way's strategy for sustainable growth, for continued nonprofit support, and to bring a call to action for our community. United Way has served our community for over a century, grounded in the very belief that we can do so much more together than we can alone. We are a nonprofit dedicated to helping other nonprofits in service to the residents and neighbors of our community. We are a connector of resources to those who want to do great things and those doing great work in service to our region to impact our communities. United Way is the community chest. From our founding roots to today, each year we ask the community to join in, to give and to support our region through collective giving. What we raise together is what we can give together. It is the community that drives us and fuels our mission. We are a catalyst that rallies the community to tackle difficult issues together. As we turn to the next century of service, we continue to evolve to meet each moment and what is demanded of us. We have been with you through hard things over 100 years, and we will continue to rise to the occasion with our nonprofits, government partners, and other funders in order to lift those who need it most. We were in this room, this very room, over 4 years ago, at the start of the pandemic, updating our region on how to help, supporting our nonprofits with resources, supplies, and support from the Community Crisis Fund. Your United Way was activated as running towards community problems is in our DNA. We are driven to help. As a community, how we collectively responded in that moment of crisis and the months and years that followed was truly something to behold. We can and have done really big things in the face of significant challenge. Today, we gather once again in this room as we recognize the pandemic's lingering effects continue to rear its head in a multitude of ways. Increasing community needs, massive shifts in giving and workplace culture, and compounded community challenges. And we are not immune. 3 major shifts are impacting our United Way: trends, timing, growth. For trends, nationally, individual giving is down, and we have not recovered. We are a very giving community, yet giving here mirrors the declines that are happening all across the country and has diminished crucial support we count on. Donors are also asking for more measurable impacts and are less supportive of general operating support. Timing. For most of our history, United Way campaign ran in the spring for a few months, and we were able to confirm how much we had to give by summer. With the pandemic hitting in March of 2020, we lost businesses, and many companies understandably shifted the timing of their campaign to later in the year, delaying our ability to predict funding for grants for our community. Growth. We merged with our surrounding United Ways 3 years ago and now serve a 6-county region with a range of needs and supports from Batavia to Geneva and everywhere in between. We have also seen tremendous growth in community needs across our region. We offered the opportunity for more nonprofits to apply through this latest grant process. Over the last grant cycle, we did what we could to fulfill our promise to support 193 agencies with over $45 million in support. We extended our grant cycle time from 3 years to 4.5 during the pandemic because we knew how tenuous it was for our nonprofit community. This was made possible by our generous donors who are the cornerstone of our giving. We knew that the community needed us, and we did our best to have that solid foundation during a very challenging time. Yet, we continued to fall short each year in the aftermath of the pandemic, with shortfalls of $2 to $5 million annually. United Way went to great lengths to secure one-time investments, transfers, and support to keep agencies whole as we finished out the last multi-year grant cycle. Which brings us to today. The need has never been greater here in our region, and yet the math simply doesn't add up. This is a painful reality that we cannot commit dollars we simply do not have, and shines a light on this unfortunate shift that is a community problem and in which we need to come together because it's simply not sustainable. With the new grant cycle, we had to right size to the fiscal realities and responsibilities of today to set us up for a stronger future. We are doing this in 3 ways. First, we are right-sizing our multi-year commitments to ensure we can support them for years into the future. This means shifting from our historic 100% campaign multi-year grant model to one that includes just over half of our campaign for multi-year grants. This allows for variability in giving and flexibility that we are being asked to provide. Second, we are building out our donor designation program, a core service of United Way as we engage with over 600 workplaces, encouraging giving a few dollars a week through your payroll, and as a service where donors can choose their beloved nonprofits. This is on top of any grants from United Way, and last year was a total of $4 million in direct support to agencies. Third, we are expanding the types of grants available in the future to be nimble and ensuring we are spending what we have as we fund and support our vital nonprofits. These new flexible grants, being launched in the coming year, allows organizations for the very first time to receive multiple funding streams of support from United Way. But what does this mean? We held our first 6-county competitive multi-year grant process, which was one of the most competitive application pools in our history, with 279 partner programs requesting over $30 million in funding. On August 1st, hundreds of nonprofits in our 6-county region received word of the extent of support they will receive from our multi-year grants in 2025 and beyond. These classic grants have been a critical funding source for many nonprofits in our region for decades. Being just past the halfway mark of our 2024 campaign year, we are in the position to commit nearly $6 million in annual multi-year grant support, a significant difference from the $11 million in collective support in years before. We are still determined to finish the 2024 campaign year strong, to build out the remaining support of the year. However, the adjustments from what has been historically as the go-to for many agencies for large multi-year grants for decades is just not an easy change. This is a crisis moment for our nonprofit and our nonprofit leaders who do so much. Our nonprofits continue to ensure significant critical services are provided in the face of an ever-challenging environment. The hits just keep coming. Simply put, this hurts. It's painful. And trust me, we feel this. I feel this. Our board feels this, and our staff feels this. It is not easy, and I understand that. United Way is a helping institution, and we want to help more and more as much as we can. This moment in time and the impact this has on our community is not lost on us. If we had all the time and resources, no agency would feel the effects of this reality of sudden shock, and we would have more time to plan, step down, and regroup. Time is just not on our side. Our business model is in real time at United Way, with annual funding raised and distributed. We wanted to share what we could as quickly as we could as the changes are coming. As a leader in this community, we know that we need to meet the community where we are. To support in this significant transition, United Way is committing $2 million in one-time bridge support to long-standing partners as we work to realign and support the best path forward. We know it does not fill the gap, but are committed to helping where we can. This will postpone our full community impact strategy, but we believe there is nothing more powerful than a purposeful pause to be with our nonprofit and government partners to determine a path forward with a small safety net. We are actively working with our partners in government and philanthropy on ways we can collectively support our nonprofit sector. None of us can do this alone. To sustain ourselves as a viable organization well into the future, we can't operate the same way and expect the same results. This will do a disservice to all who depend on us. In the coming weeks, we will be engaging with partners who were not selected for this round of multi-year grant funding to offer the full picture of ways we can support and help. We aren't going anywhere. Next week, we will announce the 89 organizations and 97 programs that will receive funding from United Way's 2025 multi-year grants round, which, in addition to 53 currently funded partners, will list 36 new partners that have never had the opportunity across our region to receive multi-year funding. We look forward to showing the depth of our support for this region we are proud to call home. Our next round of multi-year grants will open in 2 years, and pending the campaign, we hope to provide a range of 1-year grant opportunities when funds are available. I now would like to invite Dr. Kevin Williams to join the podium to say a few words on behalf of the United Way Board of Directors and as a member of our Volunteer Community Development Cabinet.
Thank you, Jamie. It's an honor to be here. Welcome, guests. I'm here to represent our board, and some of the other members are sitting here in support. So, as a member of the United Way Board, I can say we are proud of what we've been able to do over the last 4 years, especially coming out of the pandemic. We had to make some difficult decisions to put our community first. This evolution has not been easy. We are committed and doing the very best we can to be stewards during this difficult time. I believe the bridge fund that Jamie is just alluding to is the right thing to do for our community in the short term, knowing that that we will continue to march towards our new community impact strategy with our partners. What this highlighted is the fact, though, that this is a community issue, not just one that belongs to United Way. These realities are something other communities have had to tackle. And like what many local United Ways are doing across the countries, based on the changes in our community and environment, we are seeing and requests for more nimble and flexible support outside the United Way's classical funding. As a member of the United Way Board that has been close to the Community Impact Fund, I have seen firsthand the meticulous thought, research, and impact that went into this evolution. The entire CI board, and impact team, I want to thank them. As you know, it's been very difficult. These folks are the architects of this plan, and the construction crew that had to spend our long hours putting the program together. So thank you all. Our board is here. It's here. It's committed to supporting the community in every way. Yet all of what United Way does for our community depends on the support of our whole community, each of us. All the funds and resources United Way provides through the Community Impact Fund depend on the campaign. All the funding and opportunities and resources to support our nonprofits, including Volunteer United, WROC the Day, the Leadership Development Programs, Day of Caring, and many more dependent donations. When we raise money, we can do more to strengthen our resources that we have. We need your continued support to make that happen. We hope that you continue to trust in United Way, that we are here to bring our results for our community that impacts our most vulnerable citizen, so we can give the opportunity to continue to thrive. Give what you can individually or at your workplace to this support. We cannot do this without you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. As we close, let me drive home a few points. We love, absolutely love, our nonprofits. We love them. We know your realities. You are doing the work to support those in need. This is the heart of the work of United Way. The work you do is critical, and we are dedicated to supporting you. We commit to getting through this part of the challenge with you through communication and bringing more resources to bear to support your important work. Second, we are not going anywhere. We are not walking away. We are here. We are evolving from what we have always been. Multi-year grants is what everyone expects from United Way. We will now offer a range of supports, including for our beloved nonprofit sector across our region. There are many ways we can support you, and we will continue to do so. And lastly, we can't do it alone. It's in our name. It's who we are. Let this be a call to action, an affirmation of the power of collective giving. We need you. We ask you to give what you can to United Way and directly to the organizations that are experiencing the significant shift with us, and we are with them. This is a time to come together, not push apart, as we work towards a stronger future. At this time, we can open the floor for questions.
You know, FoodLink has been a long time receiver of the Community Impact Fund, and now they're not receiving any funding. I'm just wondering if you can elaborate on how a decision like that is made, and if certain organizations are getting prioritized here.
So we love FoodLink, and if you know anything about me, I'm an alum of FoodLink. They are a critical organization. They provide critical resources throughout the region, and they are getting funding from United Way. That's the part that we have to reimagine and reframe. This is one pool, one pot, one resource of multi-year grant. That is what we're most accustomed to. We have donor designation and now an expanded portfolio of resources, plus, of course, the bridge. But FoodLink does very, very well with support from our community and the donor services that we provide through United Way. We anticipate they may increase their support given how beloved and their reach and their experience of how they can engage more through our workplace partners. They are absolutely part of the United Way family.
And will this, bridge fund be available for all the impacted organizations that may have lost some funding?
Correct. That is the role. I want to acknowledge our United Way Board of Directors. These are not easy decisions to make. That doesn't come without cost to our organization to be able to find those resources. We have taken hits to do so. We are really working hard to make those $2 million available. The more we raise in the rest of this campaign year, the more we can provide to that bridge gap funding and that support. And all of the agencies that are current partners that had reductions and or have been moved off of the multi-year cycle this round will be eligible for support. We notified all of our partners this morning via email that they were aware of that, plus the donor designation pool of support. We have to begin to think about United Way in broad terms of how we are supporting our nonprofits. It is hard. My whole career has been at United Way funded agencies before I even came here. And I will say even then, these nonprofits are working so hard day in and day out, and you think of the money coming in. Behind the check that arrives from United Way to an organization is a team of professionals dedicated, going out to our community to inspire over 30,000 donors to chime in, to chip in, to do what they can. Our average donor is $2 a week, and all of that comes together. And we need more to lean in and to support. We can give more if people continue with United Way. Our greatest risk here and our greatest fear is that we will not be included and that we will diminish the power and strength of coming together. And that's what we're asking in this difficult moment, that we come together and lean in. We acknowledge the problems and challenges that we face, but that we come together to be able to face them together.
Could you elaborate a little bit on the selection process on how much, you mentioned 36 new organizations, but I'm wondering as far as capacity, single providers of a source, and whether those monies would be leveraged, how those factored in, because that's what I'm hearing from a number of these more established groups.
If I understand your question, you're asking the selection process, and you're asking
for the award.
for the
What it
awards,
came
for
to.
this bucket for multi-year, which is different than other years. And I will actually bring in our expert on this, which is our Chief Impact Officer, Dr. Ashley Campbell, who can provide some more insight.
So good morning. So in response to your question, the selection process was actually a double-blind review. And so we started with that process as a way to really make sure that for all of our evaluators, and we had about 30 evaluators for this process, and that's inclusive of United Way staff, in addition to funders, local funders, as well as community members, and our community development cabinet members, all participated in an evaluation review process first before they actually looked at any of the applications. Once we received the applications, they were all double blind. Double blind meaning we did not know the agency, nor did we know the actual name of the program. And so essentially there was a very structured rubric that all of the organizations, all of the reviewers, my apologies, had to use in order to evaluate each question of the application. Once that process was complete, we were able to internally examine all of the scores for all of the applications. That was 279 applications. From there, we then said, okay, where are those scores actually landing? And from there, we really noticed a significant difference in terms of who was evaluating certain applications. And so really making sure that we took account for the voter strength, or the evaluator strength of each application. And then, of course, we looked at the revenue of all the organizations. We looked at how organizations answered certain questions, and definitely spent quite a bit of time examining the actual budgets for the programs. And so that was really the deciding factor to be able to make decisions on whether or not we could move forward with each application. Now, to be completely transparent, we were not able to provide the requested amount for all of the applications submitted, even for the applications that received a yes for funding for the multi-year, given the amount of money that we were working with, and our parameters were $6 million. And so essentially that was our guardrails to really be able to say, can we do this for the next 2, 3, or 5 years? And so that was really our structured approach in terms of how we went through the selection process. We really spent a lot of time looking at what is the complexity of the actual program itself, and not getting caught up in the number of people aimed to be served. So we spent a lot of internal time to really make sure what are the metrics that programs intend to use in terms of measuring how they would perform or how they would achieve the goals or objectives as they outlined in their actual program application. So very nuanced.
May I just follow up on that?
Yes.
Because I'm interested in the metrics.
Yes.
Of how you measured this.
Yes.
So, I don't want to, so was it the greatest, the number one metric was the greatest need, the biggest budget, the return on investment? So what was it that in this double blind evaluation made one organization get approved and another not?
So in an equity-based process, there are a multitude of different factors that actually weigh into that. So there's not one factor that outweighs something else. So there were multiple things that we examined. So as I mentioned earlier, we couldn't just rely upon the scores from the evaluators. We had to dig a little bit deeper to make sure that was there something that one evaluator believed was stronger in one category than another. Was there a difference, like a 20% difference or a 20-point difference in terms of how they scored an application? And that gave us that intriguing factor to say, you know what, let's dig a little bit deeper into what is it that they saw for that particular application. So as I shared, in an equity-based review process, there are a multitude of different things that we have to look at. There is not one thing that says, oh yes, this is the stick that we're going to use in order to say we're going to tank this application, or we're going to reward this particular application.
If I could, on that, there's no rubric that is going to rate children above older adults, or those struggling to make ends meet, or with food insecurity. So all of this matters. All of these are front burner issues. Really, when you think about the task at hand, was how do you take a $35 million request and get it to $6 million? We asked our agencies for what they needed, and we encouraged them to do that because we need to know the scale and scope of the community need. So we are now able to go to other sources, other partners, to try to fill gaps. So that is part of our role as United Way. For the $6 million funding, we had to look across the region, which is now 6 counties. We also looked at this as one bucket, not all of the buckets that United Way has. So again, I want to just bring back, this is only multi-year funding, and there are the donor designation and other grants as well. All of that, to your question, is part of this very difficult decision making. What pieces of support do we have to put together to try to do the biggest support effort that we can? I also want to offer that United Way Worldwide has provided a guidebook for what Dr. Ashley Campbell just reviewed that communities have done across the country. We have taken our time because we know that in our community, unlike others, in our community, United Way has been the foundational support for human service delivery. Right after the public, right after government, comes United Way in terms of basic needs supports. We are not walking away from basic needs supports. They are in each of our impact areas. Some are new, some are long-standing. It's not at the scale because the need outweighs the resources exponentially. This is a shift, no question about it, in terms of what resources are available because United Way has to shift. We also anticipate and know of additional public funding is shifting. We're all paying attention to the shifts of resources. This is why it's a community challenge. It's not just United Way retreating in any way. We actually are leaning in harder, just different. And that's the conversation we need to have as a community. It's not all on United Way. It needs to be a full picture in scope and scale.
Can you talk about how this $2 million will be determined? Who gets it? Will that be based on how much they, like, who got reduced the most, or what is the metric for that?
Yes, so $2 million is not enough, right? So the need is significant. It is our best effort and what we can responsibly do. And to be candid, we are executing a loan to do it. So I just want to put that out. We have both campaign, plus we have skin in the game because we know this is hard. So we are going to fill what we can with the $2 million. I hope it's more based on what people continue to contribute to our campaign. The methodology, we need some time. So we've promised that after Labor Day, we will tell the organizations what we are able to allocate so we can have a thoughtful methodology to it. In some cases, if it sounds simple, I often say this is simple. I must tell you the complexity of this is very challenging because we want to make sure that we're fair. We also want to make sure that it's enough for programs to stay or at least part of the general operating support. We are not tying it to program deliverables. It will be general operating support to help our organizations as they navigate to the new. So after Labor Day, but our team is working on it. It's not easy, believe it or not, to figure out how best to invest to make the greatest difference.
Jamie, I think we're familiar with the food link statement that came out yesterday. Okay.
Yeah.
And I understand there's different sources of funding from the United Way
Yep.
in terms of the multi-year. Are you concerned that there will be more children that go hungry in our community?
Not because of this, but in general, absolutely. If you look at what the challenges of our community and what we're facing, absolutely. FoodLink is strong. They are facing challenges. Please support them. Please support us to support FoodLink. When you look at their multi-year grant, to be specific, of FoodLink and what we anticipate for donor designation, I do believe they will be supported more through the United Way. I just believe it is to be true. When you look at past patterns, they were about even of what they were receiving in donor designation and WROC the day services plus multi-year. So when you look at all the buckets, how do we maximize the resources? That was part of the full picture, but it's just a start because we are seeking other resources to support the network. Food insecurity is on the rise, no question about it. So our $200,000 grant to FoodLink from last year doesn't solve that. It doesn't solve that. It's a part of it. I'm not minimizing the importance of it, but it's crucial that we have a big picture about the community-wide need and community-wide response. United Way was a piece of it, just a piece of it. And I believe that there is a lot of pride in being part of the United Way family. And I believe in the emotion that we're experiencing and that what I'm experiencing, we don't want to let anyone down. Absolutely not. And being part of the United Way family is a whole range of ways we can support. And FoodLink is part of the United Way family. These nonprofits that are doing direct service, and they are right on the block, right on the street, right working with our families and our children, are part of the United Way family. It just looks a bit different.
I know that the donations come in from different places, and I know that there's different buckets, but I find myself wondering, will you guys be affected operationally anyway? You talk about the landscape changing. I can imagine someone who didn't receive the funding and is upset hearing about this saying, well, you guys had to take a loan. You talk about the $2 to $5 million shortfall, but I mean, how much are you guys hurting from this as well, or have you to get rid of jobs, cut funding? I know this is all different pools of money, but that's something I'm wondering.
Thank you for asking that. We are a nonprofit as well. So if individuals see this and pull funding or don't contribute or don't lean in, it will only get harder. And I will say we are already incredibly lean. The individuals who are standing behind me work 4 jobs to be able to support this organization at United Way, I mean. They are busy, they are dedicated. We are here as an organization. Our staff are so committed to doing the best work they possibly can, and this is hard and challenging. We do not have enough resources to do all the things we're being asked to do, but we know as we continue to grow and expand, and I do believe there's growth. This is a change of where the resources come. This is a change of how you will see United Way showing up to provide services and support. That is coming right now as part of that transition. And sometimes there is that breakdown before the breakthrough. Sometimes there is that pause. Sometimes there's that grouping, a recalibration, and then we can build back stronger. And I mean that in a big, big way, because we are in that moment of building a brighter future. And it is not easy, so I appreciate that you notice that we are working as hard as we can, given a perspective of what we have been for a century. So imagine trying to hold up what everybody is expecting of you, but they also need new and different. And we are in the messy, messy middle. That's where we are. So as we move towards the future, if you come with us, the community comes with us, our workplace partners come with us, you invest with United Way, it goes back to our founding. We can do more together than we can alone. We absolutely can achieve great things.
So I guess more of what I was asking, though, is that if someone sees like, oh, I'm getting less in funding, but United Way's operational costs are staying the same.
They have not.
Okay,
So, well, I will.
So that's more of what
Yes,
I'm trying to ask.
we have not filled certain positions that are crucial for our functions. We have not launched new services because we are holding back. We need that support. So I appreciate the question. We can do more with more investment. We are seeking different ways to do that. We are a nonprofit. And as my colleague Dr. Campbell has said, we need to put our oxygen mask on as well. We need to get strong. And as we get stronger, we can do more for this community. This is a moment. We were impacted by the pandemic. We did a really good job, I will say, of holding it and holding it. We would say it. We've been saying it for 4 years. We're short, and we had wonderful one-time resources that came. But we were holding it together for the community the best we could, and this is that part of the right sizing. We were facing 27% cuts for our agencies last year, and then we had a wonderful grant come in to support at the end. This would have been a different story and felt different. Now it feels surprise and shock, right? Because we weren't able to do that, and we can't keep saving the day without us rethinking of what we are doing as we move forward as a community.
Can you elaborate on the 45% that was not allocated, what that's being used for?
Yes.
And why you're not using some of that for the $2 million?
Because we haven't raised it.
Okay.
So that's a great question. So please help communicate that. So we are real time. So what we raise is what we are able to give in real time. We don't sit on the funds. So what we have traditionally been is we would promise 4 years into the future money that we actually don't have. And that's very unusual in philanthropy. That is not what private foundations do. And 100% of our money was dedicated to the future on the belief that we could raise it every single year. That really makes it difficult to do different and to respond. It also meant that instead of meeting that, again, in the environment, we were not able to meet what we had promised into the future. The ability to right-size that is to say by the time we get to June or July, that is the funds that we know. That's the bulk of our campaign, and that's that 55%. it also gives us room, if campaign does not meet target, that we haven't overpromised. So organizations can plan. I used to run our domestic violence agency, and I would come into this room and I'd have United Way tell me that they were just under goal and I would have reductions. It was very, very challenging way back when. And I will say, what we don't want to do is we don't want to have that situation where you're counting on a certain amount and then we have these disruptions and changes. Right now, that's the intensity of what we're in, because we're trying to get away from that dynamic in the future. So we are not going to overpromise. We are absolutely going to overdeliver. Every single effort we can to bring resources to bear, we will. So there's not the 45. So again, if we go out and say, take your money away, we won't be able to do the rest of the grants. We won't be able to do the rest of the support. So we need to really, again, make sure that we're investing and supporting the work. But we are not sitting on 45% of money. We are not sitting on dollars that aren't being dispensed.
So I'm also thinking about, you talk about right sizing, setting up for the future, and then you said the community needs to come together, but then you also said that you were at this level and then a huge philanthropic grant came in and resolved that. I do a lot of work with small business owners and I'm out there a lot. I mean, consumer spending is getting harder, businesses are running tighter ships than ever. So how is this going to get better? I mean, you said you see growth in this, but everyone I've talked to is I can't go out to restaurants or businesses have to close because they can't afford this stuff. So can you help bridge that gap for me? Because you're saying there's growth potential, and I'm kind of seeing that everyone is hunkering
Yes.
down to do that. So what does that look like for you?
Growth potential in diversifying revenue. So that means other sources. So we have been and will continue to broaden our deep partnerships with our philanthropic partners and with our government partners. So those are additional resources. In the last handful of years, we just began this transformation as United Way about 6 years ago, where we were able to go to receive large public grants, which is new to our organization, but on behalf of large projects in our community. So instead of one organization going to New York State, it would have been 5, and we were able to bring dollars to this community. Those are very specific, those are very targeted. The pain we're feeling is United Way has been critical for general support for big grants. We are the best funding partner because it was multi-year pledges, plus you had the ability to use them to the best of the ability. The environment has changed. In terms of collective giving, it is a challenge. We are facing a very divisive moment. We are facing true challenges with what people are able to experience and to afford. I also believe in the human spirit. We have seen tremendous care in giving. Just this year in May, 6,300 individuals volunteered for Day of Caring across our 6 counties. That is a sign of giving back at scale. And that is true and that is real, and people want to be part of the solution. The practical realities are that it's harder to do it at the scale of generations before. And that is what we all have to adjust to. It's not just United Way. If I may, we are going to see seismic shifts in the next 10 to 15 years, as there will be more retirees than workers for the first time in human history. We have to be planning ahead. Oftentimes we're viewed as reactive and crisis-oriented at United Way. We are basic needs, but we are future forward. And we are looking at that shift. We're looking at the changes. We are looking at how can we get in front of those changes because the needs are greater than ever. So we are part of that solution. Just how we participate is evolving and changing. All right. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate you. We are standing with the community, and we ask you to stand with us and our incredible nonprofit partners as we move to this next level and this next chapter in our efforts to support this community. This is not the end of the road. This is just one stop. This is just one chapter, and we are committed to being here as your United Way for the next century to come. Thank you.